Sengoku Gaming versus 16-bit Gear. Just a little bit of trivia. So they already met in Group C during the Open qualifiers. Both of them in, somewhere in the mid rankings, second and third place. So I'm not too sure what to expect as of yet for these two teams. But somehow Sengoku is looking pretty strong. Ex-Condro, what do you think about the two teams we've got for the last series?
Yeah, I think Sengoku really, they honestly impressed me the last time I saw them play. 16-bit have really made a bit of a heroic run through the lower bracket. They were obviously the team that won the previous.
And just
He's
like
gonna be back.
that.
There we go. So they were the previous winners. They actually beat out the team known as Aether Rift, who are now known as Next Play. They beat them out in the finals of that tournament. So we know that 16-bit are capable of doing so. But obviously, difficult to know. Difficult to know, how they stack up against this kind of much improved competition, but they've been making a bit of a heroic run through the lower bracket. But Sengoku definitely surprised me. It's definitely impressed me, rather. I think Sengoku are a great team. I'm waiting to see what these picks that come through from 16-bit end up being. I would be surprised if it were the Teemo. It's not, thank goodness. Teemo isn't that strong, honestly. He's a little bit of an awkward pick to play. But yes, I think the Wukong and the Misfortune would make perfect sense. Wukong combos with the Orianna nicely, and they can layer the bullet time over the top of that.
I think they just want to show us how cute Teemo is. I've been wanting to mention. Okay, are we really gonna get to you in here, the Tristana as well as the Teemo? But yeah, fortunately they did not pick that one up. But I'm not too sure what Sengoku is also planning on this side, showing the really cute face of that Teemo. I think I did mention a different hero or champion from a while ago. Yeah, from a different game. So yeah, Teemo gonna be replaced by that Shyvana as well as Jin, looking good so far. But the bans though, looks like this is very specific between these two teams. So we don't usually see Yasuo ban, even Lee Sin is quite okay. But we sometimes see a priority on other champions like that of the Gragas and the Lulu as well. So yeah, what do you think so far in the first few picks that we've got?
Well, what I'm seeing from Asian teams that I wasn't expecting so much is like the heavy prio on Aurelion Sol. Like he's obviously being very heavily prioritized. Like I think Aurelion Sol and Orianna probably are the two best champions in mid lane right now. In Europe, we tend to see Orianna favored more so than Aurelion Sol, but A-Sol has been super heavy prio for a lot of the teams that we're seeing. Braum Jin is an interesting one. Now Braum is a good counter into Misfortune. Just because the Unbreakable can be used during her bullet time, it soaks up a significant amount of the damage and really nullifies that ultimate. But it is not a good combo in lane with Jin. Jin's attack speed is slow. If you don't catch Jin, or rather, if you don't catch Jin just as he's reloaded, it's going to be almost impossible to proc Braum's passive using the Jin because of the slow reload time. So it's not a particularly good synergy between Braum and Jin. However, it is a good counter into Misfortune. The Janna coming through will make this lane matchup very hard, I think, for Sengoku Gaming, though. The Misfortune and Janna are going to be relatively oppressive, and you can see the comp has been rounded out for 16-bit. If I were Sengoku and I was looking to round this out, I would look to go for maybe a Malphite potentially. It counters the Camille. Darius is also relatively good. It is a matchup that Camille should win because you can trade effectively using her shield. But Darius also, if playing it correctly, can make it work. But I would personally go for the Malphite in this scenario to give myself some extra team fight presence. But the Darius is something that can work also.
Sengoku, if they lock this Darius in, well, they're looking more into a team fight like comp. 16-bit gear. So yes, they can, but they can also have the potential to even pick off targets. We'll see how that will go since they got on Orianna, a Camille, as well as a Wukong. But the lane matchup, let's take a look at that. So Braum and Jin versus a Misfortune as well as a Janna. I can just see this as like a pretty even matchup between these two. Both of them can fast clear the minion waves. But do you see anything in here that might be put into it a disadvantage in the laning or maybe in the jungle?
Yeah, so like I mentioned previously that the synergy between Braum and Jhin is not particularly strong. Braum also struggles to deal with enchanters. He doesn't have a really solid engage like Alistar. Like Alistar is okay into enchanters because you can just headbutt pulve them in lane and then find an engage. Braum, a little bit more difficult. You have to land your Winter's Bite, which is your first ability, and then you need to look for the AD carry to proc it. But unfortunately, Braum's not particularly good at doing that with Jhin. So I'm expecting them to play more defensive in lane and really sort of use the ultimate as the main tool around the neutral objectives. The thing that I'm looking at is going to be like how they can play around that first Drake. Like the first Drake is going to be the important one. They do have a strong team fight with the Aurelion Sol, so the first Drake's definitely going to be where I'm keeping my eyes peeled for this game.
Yeah, so we're trying to get in the lobby for the meantime, but seems like we cannot go inside since the lobby is full, and I think we have to remove one member before we, as casters, are able to get in. So we'll work that one out with producer Dave. But yeah, it's so hard to tell right now whoever actually is in the upper advantage in terms of the draft. But for you, Excondrel, who do you say got the upper advantage, or what kind of strategy did they actually pull off to capitalize on the kind of draft that they have pulled off?
Pure laning. I'm trying to switch with the right person. 1 second. Yeah, we go. I'm good. Pure laning wise, I would say the advantage lies with 16-bit because I think Camille should beat a Darius. It's a relatively okay matchup for the Camille because she has that really great shield that allows her to trade effectively. The bot lane, the Misfortune Janna, should beat Jhin and Braum because Jhin and Braum do not particularly synergize well together, and obviously Braum can struggle with enchanters. Mid lane, I would say that's a relatively even matchup, Orianna versus Aurelion Sol. They both shove the wave relatively quickly. Aurelion Sol might be the difference maker for Sengoku though. His roam potential is huge compared to Orianna. So if you can either roam top or bot, especially around the first dragon, that could be the big difference maker. So I'm looking at Rush, specifically keeping my eyes peeled on how he potentially can utilize this Aurelion Sol and get into that bot lane and start to make the magic happen. But obviously as the game progresses, the team fight potential is good from both teams, and it really comes down to the execution of the team fight that is going to matter. If you can block the majority of the Misfortune ultimate, you take away a huge amount of huge damage source from these team fights, and then Shyvana in combination with the curtain call from the Jhin, it can be really scary to deal with. So honestly, it's going to be very execution based. I genuinely think there's a lot of even facets between these two teams, and this is going to be a really good first game.
Yes, for sure. It's going to be hard to just judge them basing on the draft, but for sure, each of the fans of these teams already got some prediction in mind. Okay, of course, my team is going to win that and all that. But again, just like what Excondrel said, it's going to boil down onto execution. So in a few seconds from now, in a few minutes, maybe 1 minute, we'll be heading on to the battlefield. But again, these two teams, they already met each other during the open qualifiers, but again, lots of patches already happened as well. So changes, especially in the playstyle that they might be able to pull off in this game, might still happen. So we'll see about that. But yeah, I'm just so excited to see how this is gonna go.
I think, as I said, this is too difficult to call. I think from the pure laning phase alone, I'm favoring 16-bit just because of just how powerful Misfortune Janna is into the Jhin Braum lane. But again, we all know that laning phase doesn't mean everything. And, we are coming from Sengoku Gaming being completely fresh. They haven't yet had to play today. Obviously, 16-bit had to go for a pretty grueling best of 3 at the start of the day. And a bit like Bigatron, they may have, a bit of game fatigue. They had a longer break, don't get me wrong, longer break between their games, but there may be a bit of fatigue still setting in. So let's see how it plays out. I'm really interested. It's definitely going to be the roams from the Aurelion Sol, and if Wukong can actually snowball any of these lanes, it's going to be the big difference maker here.
For sure, it's Sengoku versus 16-bit gear. One will go home after this best of 3 match. If you just tune in onto the live stream, we are just about to start round 1. And we'll see how things will go. So from yesterday, just to give a little bit of trivia on what has happened. So Sengoku got that matchup against Chakaimuk. Unfortunately, they got defeated in the 2-0 score in favor of Chakaimuk. 16-bit gear, however, had to deal with Liab Esports a while ago, and at the same time had to deal with Omega Esports from yesterday, and they lost 2-0 from that one, being the reason them being here in bracket. But they're fighting. Seems like they're fighting and not really going back onto having this matchup. So we're loading in here and we're already here in the battlefield. Again, we're your casters. I'm Kaisaya. With me is Excondrel. Let's see what will be the strategy of this two teams.
Yeah, again, nothing crazy. I like, you know, I like it when teams play a little bit safer and don't go for these crazy level ones. And I think especially versus a Braum, you do not want to go into a Braum level one. Braum has got the strongest level one out of any support in the game because he can individually stun your entire team. Obviously, he's got to get the stacks on them, but he just needs to basic attack one member from the enemy team to get that stack started. And he can essentially stun everybody at level one if the basic attacks come through. So I you know, playing into a Braum level one, you don't want to get caught by that, even if it is with a Jhin. So I'm just liking how just more defensive starts that we're getting from our guys on the Rift.
Yes, for sure. And we see that matchup between the mid laners Oriana as well as Aurelion Sol, and we know that of course the upper advantage in terms of clearing the minion waves is in the Oriana, and that's been happening. But on the top side, we can see the Darius somehow getting more damage up against that Camille. But in the boss side, the situation is, well, it is the Jhin as well as the Braum getting seemingly like being more aggressive in terms of positioning in their lane. But yeah, it's hard to tell for the meantime. But Rift Scuttler in here, fight ongoing onto the top side. Let's see how they're gonna be answering each other's back. Looks like we have two pokes ongoing, but they're not really going for that full commit.
Yeah, Camille does have the inbuilt sustain with her leg sweep as well, which is going to allow her to again trade more effectively. Darius has already had to go for the heal, whereas Camille's honey fruit is still up and available should she want to back and go and get that, which I think is, you know, now is the right time to do so, especially as you just shoved the wave. So, you know, Camille really having the upper hand in this engage right now. I think actually did Wukong get away with double scuttling the early game here? He managed to pick up.
Yes. I think
that's
he did.
A great
he
start.
did on the top side and here in the bot lane part as well. But let's talk about what's happening in here on the top side again. This is a Camille. Still having the upper advantage. Rush is not ready to actually go for a backup. Darius in here just needs to go for a safer route. We just, you know, just go for a tower hack for the meantime. We're not yet ready since, you know, we lost two scuttlers and we don't know what might be waiting for us in the bushes.
Yeah, it's a good start. Honestly, if you could double scuttle a Shyvana, who is notoriously quick at clearing the jungle, that's a really good start. You know, you're going to limit her XP gain, limit her gold gain just a little bit, and you take those small advantages when you're jungling into a Shyvana who you know just clears the waves insanely quickly. So yeah, really, really good. I'm enjoying this this early gameplay coming out from Sengoku. Sorry, from 16-bit. What am I talking about? 16-bit esports. That's you know, I think you've got to take the edge where you can get it. They are not massively ahead. They're only about 600, 500 gold in the lead right now. So obviously everything to play for. But like I said, that Infernal Drake spawning in 45 seconds. Both bot lanes are going to have to pick up whatever items they can. Shyvana wants this dragon. This is probably the single most important upgrade for Shyvana, maybe next to the Ocean Drake, simply because it gives her the true damage on her fire breath in dragon form. So it basically makes her deal insane damage in team fights when she can get this upgrade, and it's a really, really big one. Plus, obviously, the Infernal Drake maybe being, as a single effect, one of the more effective, or one of the most effective dragons that you can pick up. Doesn't look like we're seeing Darius rotate for the dragon, though. He looks like he's heading back towards the top lane. Camille hard shoving the lane out. So, yeah, I'm wondering if this is going to be like a slow build up towards this dragon, or we're just going to have like a really explosive team fight.
Yes, let's see. But, well, you mentioned it already. If the Darius is not ready to back up and join a team fight, that might potentially happen in here in the Infernal Drake pit, then maybe they have to deal with a 4v5 fight that might happen. But no, here, looks like he's going to be joining anytime soon. Both are not yet ready. Instead, they're going to be prioritizing that tier 1 turret down bottom part of the map. Yes, they did not take that, but that was massive amount of damage dealt just to put the turret into half-life.
And you can also see the Aurelian Soul backed and has picked up his Leandries. So this is a really big item spike for this next dragon fight. And this is like an item that's going to allow him to have a huge impact if they choose to go for it. And both teams are very reluctant to commit to this. Neither team wants to go for like what I often call the run it down coin flip for first dragon, because it can be very scary. I mean, obviously Shyvana is in no rush. Like if they can set it up better, then that's obviously better for her. But although she gets caught out.
Oh yes, the Hex. They're targeting a rush. They're gonna be committing onto a team fight, almost onto death. Fortunately enough, there's the shot of clone from that Wukong, and now a position to actually take the Infernal Drake in this one. Brawl might be having his shield available as well. Curtain Call trying to get some targets on the side of Team 16-bit. Unfortunately, no steal for them, and this is Team Sengoku going on to a slither of hell, trying to survive. Oh, look at that! Kills coming from the side of Team 16-bit. Man, they're doing some really good plays in this game.
That was a beautiful pick. That, like, right at the start there from the Camille, absolutely gorgeous pick onto the Shyvana. You force her. She can't use her ultimate because she's stuck in the Hextech ultimatum. Obviously, this is an attempted desperation steal from the Shyvana, but at this point, 16-bit were too healthy. They took almost no damage from the Jhin, and they were able to kite backwards really nicely. That was so good and really just facilitated by the Camille in the top lane. Such excellent play from 16-bit to kick things off. 3-0, denying the Infernal Drake from the Shyvana. That is a great start if you're a 16-bit fan.
Totally a great start. I mean, the decisive play coming from the Camille was really commendable. Okay, this is Shyvana wanting to contest what we want to take in this one. No, you're gonna be stopped because I'm willing to commit my ultimate for you. But here we go with the Rift Herald, not even contested by Team Sengoku. But instead, them looks like trying to wait for an opportunity to gank a target here in the bot side part of the map.
Yeah, they're setting up for what looks to be a dive. But honestly, Camille. That Camille matchup, once she gets a sliver of a lead, it's almost impossible for Darius to keep pace, especially because Darius has gone for the Black Cleaver build compared to the Trinity Force from the Camille. And there we go. I mean, she's going to start to run away with that in the side lane right now. And 16-bit are off to a fantastic start. I mean, Hack's heading up there, I think, to just prevent that wave from crashing and losing the experience, as well as making sure that the Camille will not be able to clean it up. I would say that Hack is probably the guy that I'm keeping my eyes on now. If he can get that Aurelian Soul into the late game, and he can get the items to sort of back his team up and keep himself relevant, then I think that there is still a chance for Sengoku. Like, I mean, Aurelian Soul can absolutely carry fights by himself if he's in the right scenario.
For sure. Let's see. Seems like anyway that's what they're waiting for. But for Team 16-bit, looks like they're even willing to try to pick off Hack, the Aurelian Soul on the side of Team Sengoku, but just that didn't happen because you can see how we're actually trying to route. It's kind of safe, and they don't really want to give more casualty onto 16-bit this time. But yeah, they must buy time and wait for the Shyvana to go online, even the Darius to go online, especially that Aurelian Soul that is looking good because he's the one who's got more gold compared to the Shyvana.
Yeah, I mean, compared to the entire team, realistically, only the Jhin is the sort of keeping pace with him in terms of pure gold value. But I mean, you've probably played against enough Dariuses to know that all it takes is one team fight for Darius to start getting dunk resets, and things can definitely switch back the other way. So obviously, let's not count out Sengoku at this stage in time, but again, denying the first Drake from Shyvana, very strong. Giving the leads over to your Camille, super good as well. The Misfortune 2-item spike of the Infinity Edge and Blade of the Ruin King, that is also something to keep our eyes on. That is a bigger spike than the Jhin is currently offering in terms of damage output. And another Drake fight is slowly starting to reveal itself. Now, whether the Shyvana thinks she's strong enough to fight this, I don't know, but I do genuinely feel like this is probably still in the advantage for 16-bit.
But all the thought, look at the top side. We have a 1v1 fight. Hextech Ultimatum has been used onto the Darius. Darius in here will fall down onto the hands of the Camille once more. totally fine if even if the Camille lost that ultimate for herself in case the fight happens here in the Dragon Pit. But with one member down on the side of Sengoku, that's gonna be some something that Team 16-bit can take advantage. Not to mention, by the way, there goes the Rift Herald spawned on the
Yeah,
top side.
yeah, she's split pushing the top. I mean, you could see like Sengoku, they're going for the fight.
Yes, indeed. In here, we can see the bullet time connecting onto some members on the side of Sengoku. We can see Shyvana with a flame breath as well. Oh, look at that shockwave connecting onto the Braum. Fortunately, the Braum will be able to sustain that damage, but their turret in the bot lane part of the map will fall off. Great position as well to even take another Drake for themselves, as Shyvana is already starving at this point.
Yeah, Shyvana starved of Drakes at this stage, and that was super intelligent from Camille in top lane. Like, again, the Camille versus Darius matchup, a good Camille wins that matchup. Like, there's a tough matchup for Darius to win. So, I think, Camille is obviously just playing the matchup out the way she should. But you could see Shyvana was so desperate to be there at the Dragon fight that they were able to get the first turret of the game and drop the Rift turret at the top as well. Obviously, Darius was able to respawn and prevent it from going much further. But they just cross-map split push play is really, really good from 16-bit. They did it previously as well, I believe, with the Fiora. And they're making it work on the Camille as well. So this is something that I think they're the best team that executes split push that I've seen today. Like, it's a difficult, as I said, it's a difficult strategy to make work, but 16-bit have got it down, and they are pulling Sengoku apart at the seams right now.
Oh, caught in a tight spot in here. Fortunately enough, the Wukong did not get locked in by any of the members of Team Sengoku, and actually that's the problem. They don't really have a sure lock. And talking about sure lock, that Darius is gonna go down again onto the ends of the Camille. I mean, Camille is not even stopping about punishing the Darius. He's not stopping.
No,
They're not stopping. Yeah.
Absolutely not, but why should you? Like, this is what a split pusher is supposed to do. This is why I love Camille as a split pusher, because like, as a split pusher, you have to have 1v1 pressure. So if you're looking to split push effectively, you need to be able to say to the enemy that's in your lane, I can kill you if you get too close to me. And then the very best split pushers can say, I can kill you whenever I want. And that's what Camille does. Camille basically threatens her lane opposition in the sense that she will always threaten the kill because of the hook shot into Hextech Ultimatum. She can lock down the single target really well. And this is what I think 16-bit are doing so excellently here as we have a fight.
Man, this is really a good call to start and fully engage onto the fight. This is, I mean, I can even go for an ace on this one. Bullet time, not really connecting that well, but taking down a lot of... Oh, yeah, curtain call gonna get canceled because it won't do anything anyway. And he might just be put in a bad position, standing right behind the turret. Then, maybe some of the members will just be flanking on the side, taking down the Jean. So, yeah, there's a good opening for 16-bit to even take this Baron, while the really nice Camille doing just Baron laner work, solar laner work.
Honestly, this Camille's mechanics are clean. Honestly, every time I watch, I've literally got my point of view just focused on the Camille, watching them play, because they are super clean with their hook shots and their placement as well. I mean, this is the same guy that played the Fiora previously and just absolutely dominated. So, clearly showing that you can absolutely carry games from the Baron lane alone, and that's what we're seeing right now with the Camille. Not to say that the rest of the map is going bad at all. The rest of the map's doing great, but obviously the Camille just being the driving force behind some of the success that we're seeing.
Baron laners can carry, and this is what I love. I mean, usually we think about, okay, it's a Baron laner, it's a solo laner. Usually he just don't go team fight, and but it matters because Baron laners or solo laners usually just to think macro. They have to really think about the macro where their team can win. But let's see, for the meantime, in here, they're really putting a lot of pressure here in... Oh, look at the shockwave connecting onto a lot of members of side of Team Sengoku, even taking down the Brahmin wall.
No.
Perfect play and execution coming from the side of 16-bit gear. Them not even taking down the inhibitor turrets, and just inside the base, inside the Nexus, going for an ace, and this is gonna be it. A 1-0 score so far by Team 16-bit Gear.
Okay, this is the problem with Shyvana. Like, Shyvana is a great power farmer. She can get a load of gold just through pure camps. But one of the things that makes Shyvana good is the fact that she gets those added passives from taking the Drakes. If you don't get those passives, Shyvana's not particularly strong. And I think this game we saw it from Rush, just struggled. I've got to give huge credit to Camille though. That first, the isolation and like essential elimination from Rush in that first Dragon team fight absolutely won the fight for 16-bit. And then the continued 1v1 pressure versus the Darius, he just completely crushed it.
Can you see the difference in the KDA of the Camille as well as the Darius? That 6-0 kill. And I think that 6 deaths was mainly coming from the Camille. That was quite unfortunate. I mean, you having to deal with the Camille in the solo lane. Oh man, that's looking so bad if you're cursed.